This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Solutions, the leading iGaming PAM platform with a modular approach, including many benefits like a fast, secure, and scalable API-based platform, integrated with all major third-party products and services. Make sure you head over to Pragmatic Solutions and join our smart thinking.
And good morning, and welcome to this emergency podcast with Amanda has a very big smile on his face currently for very good reason. Tsachi Maimon, president of Neogames, news was just released a couple of hours ago that Neogames have been acquired by Aristocrat in a $1.2 billion deal. So, Tsachi, how good do you feel today? And can you talk a little bit more about the deal that has just been announced?
Needless to say that we feel very good right now. It's what we see today. It's what is above the surface. It's a process that started a few months ago, and with very hard work, with many people involved, not only the leadership in Neogames, but also the consultants and everyone around it. It's something that is the first time that we need to manage a project where we have people in Australia, we have a team in Las Vegas, in New York, and we are based in Europe. So to find the right time in the day to speak, for sure one or at least one of the countries need to do it overnight. So it was really tiring, really busy, really very nice and busy process. So now what we see is a little bit of the fun out of it for one day. Only for one day.
And then you get to work again. Then it's back to the grind. Yeah. Tsachi, I mean, I must also just congratulate you personally. We mentioned this in the podcast before, but every time we speak, it seems like you reached the next level. I remember back in kind of like March 2020, Aspire Global had a market cap around 40 million euro. 2 years later, you sold to Neogames for 400 million euro. You 10 doubled the market capitalization. And now, just a mere year later, the company is being sold to one of the biggest gambling companies in the world. The run that you've had is one of the most legendary iGaming runs in this industry ever, I think. What do you attribute the success to that you've had over the last, say, 3 or 4 years?
Sometimes you have those moments where you look back and think, what are the triggers that brought you to this place? I think that it's two main things, really, and not something that is out of the ordinary, but two very important basic things. One is when you have a vision, a long-term vision, like a North Star that you are pointing out that you want to achieve in the next 5, 7, 10 years, and you are not going to move from this North Star. It's something that it's not easy in the gaming industry, with a lot of changes in regulations and a lot of challenges, a lot of things that are happening. It's a very dynamic business. So if you're able to be strong and look for the long term, it will come. And the second thing is the people. Really, we have strong, quality people, team, that enabling us to achieve those achievements. It's not by mistake that I'm saying it. It's not only to check the box that I'm saying it. It is true. And those people are with us for many years. So I think those two main things are the core of the success.
Absolutely, and many of those people that were with you during that time a couple of years ago with a much lower market capitalization are, of course, with you today as well, which is great to see. Let's jump over to the kind of deal rationale here. So, Aristocrat, obviously one of the biggest players on the land-based side of things, have been looking for an opportunity for quite some time. It's been a pretty open secret, let's say. They tried to acquire Playtech and was not able to do that at the end. And now, of course, they have acquired Neogames to accelerate their efforts into the online gambling space. Can you talk a little bit more of the deal rationale here? What more specifically are Aristocrat looking to achieve here, and what will the strategy look like now that the company is within now that Neogames and Aristocrat are becoming one company?
So it's a very good question, because there are some elements that Aristocrat looked for, and we were able to check the box in a very high standard, and also some things that they were start looking at in the last year or two, when they saw that we have those elements that can contribute to their future. For example, the basic thing, and you're right, they are a massive player in the land base. Especially in the North American market, I think they have more than 30-40% market share. It's obvious. So when they will take this to the online, and will take advantage of the relationships that they have with the operators in the land base and the tribal casinos that want to move to the online, so they want the platform to do it. So this is one thing that they wanted, to create a single process, a one-stop shop for their operators, not only in the land base, but also in the online. And we provide this PAM, the player account management. More than that, they are very successful games, but those successful games right now are only in the land base, and they want to distribute those games. So when they look on the other part of our business, which is Pariplay, which is already considered one of the biggest distributors, aggregators in the world, so they know that the access of their games to as many operators out there is something that they saw as a big advantage. Now, this is not all. There are two more things, many more, that they found. One of them is the iLottery business. Neogames, the company that acquired Aspire, is a leading in the iLottery market. They are the leader by far from others in the online lottery space. So for Aristocrat, which is very strong in North America, now to have another growth engine that is outside of the gaming and the iLottery, so this is something that they saw as very appealing. Of course, more markets. Africa is a market that we are a leader in. And they don't have a lot of presence in Africa. And this is something that they saw as another great growth opportunity. So there are many aspects that we saw the fit between what Aristocrat have today and where they want to be in the next 4, 5, 10 years from now. And we just checked those boxes in a good quality manner.
Right. You mentioned the US here in the beginning of the answer. Obviously, only 6 states are today legalized for online gambling specifically. And you mentioned, obviously, to bring those very popular games on the land-based side over to online. Do you think, Tsachi, will this also kind of accelerate the lobbying efforts as well from Aristocrat's side? Obviously, Aristocrat is one of the biggest gambling companies in the world. They have a long history in the US. You mentioned the great relationships that they have with both the tribes and potentially regulators as well. Do you think also Aristocrat will be part of this push now to kind of try to legalize more states? Or what are their ambitions there specifically, or are they more looking at the rest of the world, let's say, for this acquisition?
I think it's a combination of working hard in order to make as many more states available for gaming. Right now, as you said, it's only 6 states, so I think that once Aristocrat is in the game, I believe that it will be something that will provide another push for this attempt to make more and more states also into the gaming. I don't know if in a very active way, because we have the operators that are the ones that take the lobby and pitch to the governors, but Aristocrat is a good supporters for that.
Right. And so still, do you see this, is the purpose of this acquisition a global effort than of Aristocrat, or is it still mainly targeting growth in the US market where Aristocrat derives most of the business today?
Again, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So do you think like the logic behind the acquisition is it mainly focusing on the US expansion and the US opportunity, or is this predominantly an opportunity that Aristocrat sees to expand their efforts on the online side in the rest of the world?
It's obviously North America is their number one market. We can see it in their public reports, but we also know that they have a strong presence outside of North America. And we see from some of the operators that we were discussing until now, land-based operators in Europe, that I'm sure that they woke up today and they will be very happy to know that we are now part of a group that also have a big presence in their facility, in their land-based casinos. So North America, of course, it's a high priority, but not only.
Okay, fair enough. And looking at the deal itself here, so it's a $1.2 billion all-cash deal, if I'm not mistaken, which represents a 104% premium on the average share price of Neogames in the last 3 months. This is also, if you make the calculation on the EBITDA, it represents about 15 times of the expected 2023 EBITDA. So if we put all these factors together, the premium especially seems to be very high. It's a lot higher than the average premium that publicly traded companies are usually bought for. Can you talk about perhaps the rationale behind such a high premium? Like, how did that come from? Because obviously a lot of the opportunities that Neogames have and the fact that you are growing 184% year on year, they should already be accounted for in the share price. So why is the premium so high?
You know, it's a tricky question, because to take the premium, it depends from which direction we're looking at it. Because if you will ask some people if the valuation that we had until now, if it's the right valuation for a company that is delivering on a pro forma based around $75-80 million EBITDA, if this is the right valuation, 400 million. But you're right, this is the market and this is how they priced us. But I think if I'm going to the other element where I said in the beginning that Aristocrat seems to be a company that also looked, very far ahead, not necessarily for the next few months, not necessarily for the next year or two. And they saw the added value that this combination can bring. So when you understand what this combination can bring in the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years or more than that, so probably if it will be a multiple of 12, 15 or 17, it's something that will pay itself in the future. So it's a big premium compared to what we see today. But don't ask me if it's too high. I think
it's perfect.
It's good and fair to the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying is essentially that you believe Neogames was underpriced basically at this point, and looking at the company and its opportunities and performance. Yes, absolutely. Interesting. So what's next now for Neogames and Aspire Global that you oversee? Obviously, you have a very strong leadership team. I noted in the press release that it seems like the executive team is still staying on. Will you kind of take a new role in Aristocrat now, or will there be business as usual? How are these companies now planning to merge together?
So Aristocrat today have 3 arms. Let's say 3 divisions. One of them is the biggest one, which is the gaming business, the land-based machines. This is the biggest vertical that they have. The second one is a new vertical, a new segment that they built up a few years ago, which combined the social casino companies that they acquired, this segment. They acquired few companies, by the way, most if not all of them based in Israel. So they have one arm of gaming, one arm of social casino, and they built around a year and a half ago, another arm which was potentially the new upcoming division for the digital transformation. So they're going to put us in this division of the online, this division called Annexi. And we are going to act as a company within this division of Aristocrat. So in the structure of the company, everything that we want to address is going to stay the same, but with Aristocrat behind us, giving us, of course, the brand, the knowledge, the relationship, the products, in order to make sure that we are able to accelerate it even faster than before.
Right. So what would you, if you go more into detail on that front, so you're saying essentially it will be more or less business as usual, but you will have a lot more resources behind the company with Aristocrat backing you. What will that mean more in principle, do you think? Are you looking to invest more in your technology? Are you looking to expand to further operators, leveraging the contact network? Where do you see the synergies here?
I think that investing in the technology is one of them, but it's not the main one, because we are a technology company and we know that this is our bread and butter, to invest in the technology. I think that the added value, the real strong added value with Aristocrat is coming from a few aspects. First of all, the relationship that they have with the operators in North America, not only, but also in North America. And once those operators will want to go online, some of them already went online. So we see ourselves enjoying from the relationship that Aristocrat have built for a very long time. Also on the side of our aggregation with Pariplay. Think about it, that if today we are distributing to more than 130, 40 operators with our aggregation services, so tomorrow we can take the Aristocrat, not tomorrow, but after the closure, to take the Aristocrat games and distribute it to those many operators out there. Now, it's not only to scale what we already connected to. Think about the operators that now will want to have this must-have content. The Aristocrat content is a must-have in the industry. Operators in 4 years from now will not be able to see themselves without the content of Aristocrat. And where they can find it? They can find it only in one place. So this is something that we feel the synergies, the growth synergies are amazing. So we are going to contribute to each other from that aspect and to leverage on what they have built on the relationship product-wise with our technology and distribution.
Fantastic. Does this also open up for further M&A activity, perhaps through Neogames and on the online side? I mean, now that you have more resources, obviously a lot of game suppliers and other B2Bs are struggling out there and having difficulties to access these online operators. And now with the backing of Aristocrat, I would imagine that there will be some potential targets here moving forward if the price is right and so on.
I will need to be very careful at this time, in this very sensitive time where the transaction on Neogames just was released. And the people that follow us in the last few years know what is our aim in the product value chain. And I believe that Aristocrat liked it a lot, and they see what we also planned into the future. So I believe that we will not surprise many with the next step that we will do in the future.
Exciting stuff. I mean, we saw the news today as well, of course, of PointsBet being acquired by FanDuel here, and another move that further consolidates the industry. And it was the talk of town yesterday last week of the conference in New York, that the industry keeps on consolidating. A lot of both operators and suppliers are finding it more and more difficult, right, to operate these days. So is that also a belief that you share in general, that the industry itself, especially on the American side, will continue to consolidate? And what will it mean, do you think, in a couple of years' time? Will we be left with only kind of the big dragons, let's say the Aristocrats, the Evolutions, the Light and Wonder? Will these giants just eat the entire market, do you think, eventually?
It's a good question, because everyone is looking for a good quality content. So even if some content providers will acquire other content providers, you will have those newcomers that will come with a new idea and will, take a bite of the competition, and it's a cycle. So I'm not sure that it will be only a game of 3-4 companies in North America. From the other side, we saw a trend of big operators trying to own as much of the products and technology themselves. But when we see that, and on the other side see Bali, that right now stopped building and maintaining their own platform. They saw that it's not an easy task. They saw that it's something that contradicts an operator focus that should focus on marketing and players operation. So if you add another technology maintenance, it's something that maybe defocus you. And they chose a different path. So maybe this will be the trend in 3, 4, 5 years. So I'm not sure that it will be very definite to either side. And we want to be sure that we will be part of any direction that this industry will take.
Amazing. Vertical integration is a thing of the past, potentially, in other words. So what about yourself now, Tsachi? I mean, now you will be joining Aristocrat, which is, one of the biggest gambling companies in the world, of which Neogames, even though it's a 1.2 billion deal we're talking about here, it doesn't even represent 10% of the entire market capitalization of Aristocrat. Do you think, how important is the online vertical for Aristocrat, considering that they are so big in in live? Do you think there is a risk here that Aristocrat will give most of their focus to land-based, and you are kind of like the other vertical on the sidelines here, or is Aristocrat looking to bring up the revenues, let's say in the long term, to equal size to land-based?
So I think that the way they are looking at it is that already now, but for sure in the future, it will not be online versus land-based. It can't be. It's only one. And the operators that are working in the land-based in many regulated markets are moving online. So it's essentially the same market. One operator that they have can operate in land-based and in online. So it will not be one versus the other. It will be the same for them. So they see it as the future, not to transform to the online, but to build it as a one-stop shop for the operators to have a solution for land-based, a flow to the online within one roof. So it's not one on account of the other, and they made it very clear also to the market that it's going to be one.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Tsachi, for coming on here on very short notice, of course, today. You are obviously a very busy person today. And just once again, just massive congratulations. I've been personally following your journey, of course, for the last couple of years. You're a good friend of mine, and I feel very happy to wake up to this news today. Really excited to see where things go from here. And I'm really excited to continue to follow your journey. So thank you so much, Tsachi, for today. And I will see you in person soon.
Thank you very much, Pierre, and see you soon.